Hey guys, welcome to the second episode of the DNF Duo. I'm Sangeeta.
I'm Anjali.
And in this episode, we're diving into everything that took place at the China Grand Prix. And speaking of that, it happened at the Shanghai International Circuit, which kicked off with the only practice session of the weekend. Because for this race, a sprint took place, and teams just had only 1 hour to gather data and prepare their setups for the sprint qualifying. It started off with George Russell topping during FP1. Such a great start for Mercedes, as his fastest lap was timed at 1:32, and the result basically suggested a very strong pace for Mercedes.
I do not understand how the Mercedes are like just flying, and the fact that right after like George got P1 and then Kimi Antonelli got P2. So the Mercedes are really, I feel like they are like kind of now becoming the benchmark.
They really are.
They are becoming the benchmark to every other team and how
Yes.
they're going to be like, okay, this is how the season is about to play out. Like I know in the last episode we talked about how we didn't have any predictions or anything of like that. But then coming into this week with just FP1, and not to mention also, like I think if you remember from our last video, we talked about how we wanted the McLarens to be up there as well. So Lando Norris had finished in P3, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes,
so that is
correct.
good to see. It's nice to see Lando Norris up there. I would have wished that we could have seen Piastri as well.
Yeah.
But at least one of the McLarens was good. And it was
Yes.
nice to see Lando up there, given how difficult his previous week was.
I think FP1 set the pace for everybody, and Mercedes did a really good job. So we kind of can see where they're headed towards to this season.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of other things happened as well during this weekend, with constant cars spinning on the track, but still managed to maintain their pace. Some key moments to highlight during FP1 was Lewis Hamilton taking a very brief spin during his practice session. I mean, that honestly had everybody in the track and in the audience gasping, because, you know, who wants to see their 7-time world champion fly into
Exactly,
a circle?
and just spin.
It's like
And-
my heart skipped a beat for a second.
Oh God, I can't even imagine.
I mean, that did bring out a safety car, but the incident didn't really cause any major damage. But it did interrupt his run plan. But either way, I feel like Lewis picked up the pace after
Yeah.
that. You know, he really recovered himself very quickly.
I think he still did finish within top 5 or top 6,
Yes,
if I'm
top
not
5.
mistaken. Top 5, that's
Top
good.
5.
So even with that little, you spin me right round, he still got into top 5, which is very nice to see as well. Like, again, if we're going to do the comparison game to last year, when, for me, every time when I was at the edge of my seat, I'm like, oh my God, where is he going to finish? Where is he going to practice? What is he going to qualify? And then now to see him just like top 5, cinema.
So if you're wondering why FP1 is important, it's because for this Grand Prix, it's a sprint weekend, and it was the only practice session available. So it was really, really important where these drivers were going to place themselves on the grid. I mean, teams had to quickly gather up data, you know, tire information and race simulations before the competitive session begun. So it was really important both for Mercedes and Ferrari to pick up the pace, so that on the starting grid,
Yeah.
we know how well the fight is going to be. So Anjali, for FP1, I mean, it's already suggested that Mercedes, Ferrari and McLaren were putting up a really good fight already
they really were.
at the beginning. So as we're about to dive into our next segment, the sprint qualifying.
Now diving into sprint qualifying, Sangeeta. George Russell flew across that track and qualified in SQ3. I think it was 1:31.5, if
Yep.
I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
That Mercedes, Toto Wolff, we really, really see what you've been doing.
He's setting the pace for this entire race. I mean, George Russell was hungry for that P1 position.
Exactly.
Followed by Kimi Antonelli finishing second right behind of George. I mean, it was like a double Mercedes front lockout,
Again.
you know? So
Literally again.
I mean, I loved how close Antonelli's pace was towards Russell. So it was truly insane seeing both Mercedes up front during the sprint qualifying, followed by Lando.
Yes.
Right behind of Kimi Antonelli, as well as Lewis Hamilton in fourth. I mean, very diverse front grid
Yep.
for this qualifying.
I'm glad that we saw the McLarens this time.
Yes.
Because like basically from the last race, we didn't get a chance to see that. So now that they are back, in that top 5. It's nice to see.
It was a good start before we dive into what happened to the McLarens at the race, but that is like a big gap. We still have to cover qualifying first.
We'll get into that later, and then you'll just be like, ah.
So for the top qualifiers for sprint qualifying, we had Lando finishing right behind of Antonelli, followed by Lewis Hamilton, as well as Oscar Piastri rounding up out of the top 5, and then followed by the rest of the top 10, Charles Leclerc, we have Pierre Gasly,
Max Verstappen,
Oliver Baumann,
and Isaac Hadjar.
Yes, so very diverse grid for the sprint qualifying.
And nice to see both them Red Bulls up there.
Finally.
Finally.
So Anjali, something I want to highlight, right? Despite, yes, both Red Bulls did really well during sprint qualifying, Max Verstappen placed at P8. And it already kind of showed like a difficult start for the Red Bulls. I feel like they were, not to say struggling, but constantly
the pace isn't there.
It's not there.
It's not there up with like the Mercedes and the Ferraris and even now the McLarens. So it's a bit sad to see the Red Bulls struggling like this, especially to see Max Verstappen struggling like this. It's not a fun thing for like a 4-time world champion to be sitting there and struggling when the others are just flying up ahead you and you're just there like, what is happening in my car?
No, I agree. I mean, a lot of fans were kind of saying like Max is not really feeling it this year, but I know he just needs that extra push for him to kind of feel his fire back, you know, as world champion. But
and,
you know,
and I also feel like beyond just the push, I feel like we need like what could be happening in the garage? What's happening with the Red Bulls? How is it that they went from being so dominating to now struggling under these new regulations? You know, like what could be the fine print of what is actually wrong, you know? Because if now that we're seeing that, okay, with the sprint qualifying, right, we're seeing the McLarens there as well. Mercedes, let's not talk about them at this point. They're just there. But then we're also bringing in the Ferraris as well, and they are also really fast. Like they're getting faster than the previous race, even though it's only the second race weekend.
but they're keeping up.
But they're really keeping up with the Mercedes, which is amazing to see. So I wonder what could be fixed on the Red Bull side so they are equally there. So we could have like these 4 teams battle it out. Like we spoke about this last time, guys. We really want a battle between multiple teams. It'll be so much fun, honestly. So I feel like now the Red Bulls need to see what they can do to make their car better and faster and basically find the gap in what is lacking between the Mercedes and Ferraris to their team.
Agreed.
Yeah,
I have to agree with that. Just to wrap up the sprint qualifying, Mercedes is 100% right up in the front, securing their position and dominance amongst the rest of the teams. We do have Russell securing his pole, so he definitely set the tone for the sprint race, as well as the results hinted a very strong weekend for Mercedes. I mean, if you watched the race on Sunday, well, you kind of know like how that all took place. We're going to be diving into the sprint race next, so be sure to keep on watching. Diving into the sprint race at the China GP, it started off pretty dramatic with a tough fight between Russell and Hamilton. I mean, that was honestly such a glorious sight to witness. I mean, it felt like, okay, you know, the intense of F1 is back, you know, the battle has begun, and what better way than to see ex-teammates fight it out.
Yeah, it was nice to watch because the way I was just watching the sprint, right, and the way he launched out, I was like, girl,
what is happening?
That was very beautiful to watch, like, because I've not seen that type of like battle in a while. So when I was watching it and I saw it, I was like, oh, this is fun. This is really fun. And if we as watching think it's fun, can you imagine how much fun the drivers are having on track?
It was impressive to see Hamilton making a really strong launch first, and then it was like George Russell and him behind each other, trying to regain position with Hamilton trying to take the lead, and then Russell's like, no, this is my spot, and he was just fighting it. But between the two of them, Russell ended up taking up the lead during the sprint race, so that was tough for Ferrari fans to see because we're all rooting for Hamilton.
Yeah, we all are.
You know?
But it was nice to see because like, it was like a that was going on until like I think lap 5 or lap 6, and then Russell was like, nah babes, this is mine, zoop, and literally that's what happened. But that initial, the launch, and then that battle, it's like you're on the edge of your seat watching it, and it's so much fun to watch. Like that is racing.
That's racing for sure. And then we had Charles Leclerc finishing second behind of George Russell during the sprint race. So we had a double podium for Ferrari. So I really liked it because to see, I mean, they had Lewis and George had that
battle and all that, and then after that, no doubt Leclerc came ahead and he took P2, and then P3 was Lewis, right? But that initial battle was fun, and also to see both the Ferraris up there again. Like it's nice to see both Mercedes, but then when you see both Ferraris, it's also really fun. It's really nice. So they do have that battle going on.
Yeah, and it was just for the sprint race, so we were definitely rooting for both teams. But it does feel like what's that season? It does feel like 2020 Formula One is about to make a comeback in terms of the intenseness between all the drivers and the teams as well. It feels like everyone is enjoying themselves, you know, because if you've watched the last season, it was a very quiet season.
It was quite quiet as well, because like, I mean, last year I feel like we saw both the McLarens fight it out. It wasn't really like till the second half of the season, that's when Max started coming back like, y'all have forgotten I'm a 4-time world champion, bro.
He's like, let me remind you.
Let me cook, you know? So for a while, the first half of last year's season was just the McLarens. And okay, it's fun to see because then you see the rivalry between the drivers. But then Max just came in like, y'all forgot I was here. And just like, you know, then it was the three of them fighting it out. But in comparison, like I said, it's very quick, it's very early to say much because we are only on our second race this week. But just to see the action happen is really fun. And it's like pure racing now. It's very enjoyable.
Also, during the sprint race, a safety car was deployed because Nico Hülkenberg, I love saying his last name by the way, stopped at the middle of the track, and that restart basically gave Russell like kind of like a launch towards his position and an opportunity to sort of like pull away and secure his win during the sprint race. I feel like Mercedes has had a lot of like chances during this weekend, but it's not all about luck. It is the car at the end of the day.
And it's also the driver.
It's also the driver.
How well are you able to cope? And just be like, guys, I'm about to cook.
Other key notables I do want to highlight is Lando Norris finishing P4 for the sprint race for McLaren, and Kimi Antonelli finishing at P5 for Mercedes.
And he finished P5 despite having that 10-second penalty.
Exactly.
10-second 10-second penalty, yes. With the incident he had with Isaac Hadjar. So despite that, he still finished P5. That speaks for itself where the Mercedes are with pace.
Yes.
And how they're able to have put a gap between the drivers so that even with penalties, they're still able to be top 5.
Yeah, definitely. And then we had Oscar Piastri, Oliver Baumann, as well as Liam Lawson securing points during the sprint race. So it's a very diverse grid this weekend has been. It's not just a specific team on the grid as well, but it was impressive to see like how other teams as well were scoring points for their teams.
Yeah, it was sad to see that Max finished outside of points because I think Max finished P9.
Yes.
Yeah, so it was a bit sad to see that. It's not like, I'm not trying to say I'm a massive Max fan or anything, but when you see like a 4-time world champion struggling when he is literally giving it his all, I know it's only sprint. We can say yes, it was just a sprint, but still I can't imagine how he's feeling when he knows he has massive potential. Like you said, he's the Flying Dutchman for a reason. And if he's not able to be in the top 5 scoring points, it's a bit painful. So.
Yeah, I mean, nobody likes to see a world champion struggle during a race, but it's okay. As each fan of any team that you're on, you know what that feeling is like.
Yeah.
Hint, hint.
Massive hint, hint.
Speaking of Max, Anjali, like he did struggle during the sprint, and like, you know, that poor start basically dropped him down all the way to P9, like you mentioned. And I just feel like, yes, overall it is frustrating for a world champion to be struggling during a race like this, and all the other teams are ahead of him.
Exactly.
It is a very intense struggle that I'm pretty sure he might be feeling. He might be even also feeling really frustrated.
Yeah, definitely. Because like if you're putting your all, but the car is not responding to you, it's not a nice feeling to be sitting in that cockpit. You're just frustrated because you're not being able to push the car to its limits. And then you're seeing other teams being able to harness like that power and push through, and then you're just stuck here. It's not a nice feeling at all.
Not at all. Sprint race, Russell delivered an incredible performance for Mercedes, followed by Ferrari, basically ushering a really strong start for the next topic that we're going to dive in, which is qualifying.
So stay tuned, guys.
Diving straight into qualifying of the Chinese Grand Prix at the Shanghai International Circuit, Kimi Antonelli set a historic moment, being the youngest to ever set pole at P1, followed by previous title record holder Sebastian Vettel. That was such an impressive moment for Kimi Antonelli. I mean, he reminds me of a young Senna.
Yeah, young Senna,
know?
and he's like a baby. He's so small. Like, to me, he's like, aw, you get what I mean? And like seeing him get pole, it was beautiful to watch. Honestly, it was very beautiful to watch, because all this while we've been seeing George Russell just dominate it. So to see that Kimi came in and took the pole position, it was very wonderful to watch.
Followed by George Russell right behind of Kimi Antonelli, as well as Lewis Hamilton finishing at P3, followed by Charles Leclerc. It was a Mercedes versus Ferrari for this qualifying, so it was impressive pace from both teams.
And then also we did get Mercedes 1-2, and then we got the Ferrari 3-4, and we also got the McLaren 5-6. So that was really nice to watch as well, that the McLarens are now up there. So I feel like they're slowly gaining back after their last race, which is very nice to see. So it's nice to see all the drivers just up there, you know. They're just like, yeah, we're here now, guys. Hello.
And then we have Pierre Gasly at P7 for qualifying. Oh,
having Pierre Gasly up there, I was like, wait, is that an Alpine? Okay.
I don't know why we're like, wait, are we looking at the grid right?
Yeah, is that as my eyes pulling me to see the Alpine up there? And then
Max Verstappen was P8.
Yes, P8, correct. And then Oliver Bearman, and then it was Isaac Hadjar.
Yeah, so an impressive P10.
Very impressive, actually.
Not impressive P10, but impressive top 10 for the qualifying race at the China GP. So we did see very impressive pace from each team, even though suddenly we had Pierre Gasly up there. That was something interesting to see.
Yeah, and Oliver Bearman as well.
Yeah.
And it's nice that we have both the Red Bulls up there as well, which is very nice.
So we did have Max Verstappen struggling with his car and balancing it out during the qualifying race. I mean, Red Bull was facing a lot of problems as well, even during FP1, followed to the sprint and the sprint race as well.
Yep.
It was kind of hard to see Max struggling during qualifying.
Yeah, it is hard to see Max struggle during qualifying, because I feel like when you watch his previous races, he just somehow pulls something, like some masterclass move, and he will get either he'll be pole sitter or he'll be top 3.
Top 3.
So to see now he's P8, it's like a sort of a pinch me moment. Like, is this real? Are we really seeing this in real time?
The Red Bull fans are struggling at the moment. Yeah. I mean, I can imagine what it's like seeing your four-time world champion, four-time world champion struggling on the track.
Yeah, it's not very nice to see. And again, yeah, I'm always going to talk about this. I really I'm really like wondering what is it that's happening with the Red Bulls this year, because even though last year they weren't as dominating as the McLarens, not at all, because we know the margins, we know the numbers with how the McLarens won the Constructors and the World Championship and all that. But towards the end, like we mentioned, towards the end of last year's season, like mid-season, right? Verstappen came back out.
Yes,
he was fighting. It was a three-way fight between Lando, Max, and Oscar last year.
Yep.
So to see now, Mr.
Mr. Four-time world champion.
To see Mr. Four-time world champion, he only qualifying P8.
Yeah.
Whenever I watch Max race, especially for qualifying, right, when he's qualifying, he's always able to somehow get into the top 3. Almost always. Yeah. Even if his practice isn't as great, he will pull out a masterclass move and be top 3
somehow,
and somehow end up being like pole sitter. So to see him now P8, it's a bit sad.
It honestly was, but I just feel like qualifying kind of set the tone for each team. So we have Kimi Antonelli having an historic moment, being pole sitter during qualifying, followed by
the second youngest.
Second youngest, followed by George Russell, and then we have the Ferraris keeping up the pace. McLarens are right behind them for qualifying as well. We have the Red Bulls who are still, maintaining the pace. Yeah. So I feel for the qualifying race, it was a good way to see each team sort of like start off their position for the grid at the Shanghai race. So basically, with whatever took place during the qualifying race, it sets up a pretty impressive starting grid for the China GP at the Shanghai International Circuit, which we're going to be diving to right after this. The Chinese Grand Prix at the Shanghai International Circuit, what an incredible race on Sunday. I mean, a lot of major drama that happened on the track itself.
A lot of major drama.
Starting with, God, the McLaren drivers, Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris. I mean,
they didn't even start. And they had qualified, I think, what, P5, P6?
They did.
Yeah, and they weren't on the grid. So when I was watching the grid, right, I was like, wait, why is these two empty gaps? I'm like, wait, what's happening? Where are the McLaren drivers? And it wasn't just the McLaren drivers, it was even Gabriel Bortoleto.
Yes,
he had technical issues, if I'm not mistaken.
We had Alex Albon, who did not start due to a late compulsory change to his suspension setup.
So even though I think he qualified P18, unfortunately, but he wasn't even able to race. He didn't even start. So even before the race had started, we already have 4 people.
We have 4, and then we had Max Verstappen, who also retired from the race at lap 46 due to a engine failure as well, or was it technical issue?
I think it was either a technical issue or engine failure, but it was very sad because it was like he was towards the end of the race.
Yeah, like
I think there were 10 or 12 laps left, and suddenly they are like, his race engineer came on Max box to retire the car. I was like, what?
Poor guy, he literally...
Yeah, like...
lap 46, man, like, you couldn't tell him sooner.
Like, you couldn't have told him, like, maybe 10, 15 laps ahead. If I was Max Verstappen, I'd be like, bro, what have I been doing?
And then we had Isaac Hajar as well, who took a crash out quite early during the race, as well as Esteban Ocon, almost crashing into
Colapinto, and he received a 10-second penalty.
Yes, so I feel like starting with FP1 into the sprint and the sprint race and qualifying, they all had good pace up till the race itself with all of this happening. And, you know, it did in total with this multiple retirements add up to 17 drivers.
At the end, right? That was the amount of drivers. That's crazy. That's wild. 5 drivers out. Good God.
Only 17 finishers. I mean, that's how intense the Chinese GP
was.
But
it was honestly extremely fun to watch this race. It was so chaotic. It was so much fun.
Yeah.
Like, from the first turn.
From the first turn. I mean, Anjali was, again, not on the sofa. She
on
was
the
on
floor.
the floor, wrapped up with a blanket, like, suck it up.
Yeah. What? So within the first turn itself, Sir Lewis Hamilton saw the gap and he was like, bye guys, and within the first turn, race leader. And then again we had the battle with, I think at one point, Kimi kind of fell back for a bit and he was racing it out with George for a bit. And then Kimi came in and he was like, bye guys, and took off.
Kimi was soaring, like he was on a bullet train. I feel for this race. I mean, the gap between Kimi and George
at one point was 9 seconds.
It was 9 seconds. Yeah, he was ahead of everyone. Even at one point, he even lapped over Alonso.
He lapped Alonso, and he started lapping them. He was like, "Guys, there's too much traffic. I'm lapping," and I'm like, "Boy, you're just too fast." Period. Point blank.
Actually, I do want to talk about the Ferrari drivers, Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc, battling it out so intensely on the track, so much so that Leclerc was enjoying himself on the team radio.
He clearly came on and was like, that was fun. Trust me, that was fun for us too. I was like...
It was fun for us.
I was like on the edge of my seat.
But I was so scared of them crashing.
Yes.
And then we have George Russell at the back, just like...
He's like, guys, y'all battle it out. I'm about to just slip through y'all. Y'all can figure it out.
Which he did.
He
seized the moment ever since he saw a gap in between both of them and he just cut right through. He was ahead of both Ferraris. That was an insane battle to see between all 3 of them.
Yeah, actually. It was at one point, it was just they were right on each other because Kimi Antonelli had put a big gap already. I think at that time, maybe it was like 6 seconds
6 or 9,
or less. But he had that advantage where he had the gap. So these 3 drivers are fighting it out. Kimi Antonelli is there like, you know what, guys, y'all fight it out. I'm about to just enjoy my time. And that's what happened because these 3 drivers really battled it out.
Yeah, they did. I mean, to be honest, I feel like George did not want to lose his position.
Yeah,
he was very determined on making sure that Mercedes finished a 1-2 instead of finishing 3rd. But then the most impressive part was seeing Lewis Hamilton and Leclerc, like,
Wheel to wheel.
Wheel to wheel, side by side, and at one point I was looking at Anjali, I'm like, I don't know. Like we're not sure. I don't think it's going to be Hamilton, but then,
Yeah, it's like,
again.
you get Hamilton that overtakes Leclerc, but then when they're going to another turn, Leclerc gets ahead, and it was just that for so long, and it's like constant battle between P3 and P4, because at that point George Russell had shot off.
Yeah, there was a huge gap
in his Mercedes.
Yep.
So it was the two Ferraris that were fighting it out, and it was like, I had not seen a fight like that in so long, because we didn't get to see that last year with the Ferraris.
No.
So to see it this year, as much as I was getting stressed, I was like, oh my god, yes, like yes, this is what we wanted. This is what we really wanted, and it was very enjoyable.
Very enjoyable.
As much as I was stressed, I enjoyed it.
We call it, it's balanced. The
It was a
stress
good
and
balance.
enjoyment for both the drivers and the fans watching it as well. But very impressive drive for both teammates, for Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc. It kind of makes me excited for the next race as well, to see like how are they going to be pitting against each other. Are we going to get like teammate feud? I don't know.
I mean, from this race, I feel like they could possibly be that rivalry slowly,
but I think they would do it very very classy. I think they're two very classy individuals.
And also they race very clean.
Yeah.
They are not trying to push each other off the track.
Yeah, but can I say something as an F1 fan, that I do miss the days of really heated rivalry against teammates. Like I think a lot of like new Formula One. I think a lot of people who are coming into Formula One and watching it for the first time, they think like it's really classy, it's really demure.
It's very demure.
But
it's very
no,
calm.
back in the day, it was just neck for neck. They were ready to fight it out in the garage. But I think a lot of us are just, hoping for the.
I mean, if y'all have been here since 10, 15 years ago,
or like back in the day, like
y'all
2000s, then okay.
Yeah, y'all already know the rivalry that happened between
yeah.
Lewis Hamilton and Nico Rosberg. That was,
Yo, that's like a canon event.
yeah, that was full canon event. That was insane. So to even get like a mild, like a little teaser
A
of
little bit of drama.
like,
we're
a little
like,
bit. It was I really enjoyed it. Like,
Yeah.
I'll say it stressed me out, but it was very enjoyable.
Yeah,
it
agreed.
made the entire race very enjoyable, because there was a far gap already. Like, Lewis was building up quite a gap to Russell ahead.
Yeah.
At one point, it was like, I think, 13 seconds.
13.
So the two Ferraris were fighting it out to hold on to that P3 position, So having that was very enjoyable. It was like every turn they are somehow overtaking each other. Not lap, turn. So that was very enjoyable.
And Lewis put up a really good fight.
Very good fight.
Wow, that.
I mean, he is a 7-time world champion.
He is, and I think a lot of Lewis Hamilton fans are just really happy to see him remember who he is.
And how his spark has come back
Yeah, his
after
spark.
a very depressing last year.
Yes, 2025, which we shall not dive into, because this next part that I want to dive into is Kimi Antonelli securing his first podium.
Yeah.
Let's get it, Kimi.
His first race.
Yeah.
First race win.
Yeah.
It was
Very well deserved.
very,
race.
very well deserved.
I feel like I think whether or not you're rooting for other teams as well, but like to see Kimi cry after that win, like it made me emotional.
I know, I was very emotional, because it was like he was getting choked up at the
Yeah,
after race
yeah.
interviews,
Yeah.
and to see how, like, you can't imagine Kimi Antonelli how he's feeling. It's
Yeah.
like everything he's worked for
Yeah.
was shown today.
Yes.
All the hard work, all the
Yes.
determination, and
Yes.
him winning like that.
Like, yeah, towards the end, like Kimi had a lockup, as he was about to finish his lap. And that put me at the edge of my seat as well, because, he could have spun out of control. But luckily,
Exactly.
his grip was still really strong.
Yep.
So Anjali was also saying, like, you can't imagine what he must have been feeling in his seat. Like,
That must have been very stressful, because he's like probably thinking, I'm right there. It's like I
Yeah.
can smell the victory.
Yeah.
It's right
Yeah.
there. So for your car to lock up like that, I can't imagine how much mental capacity as well he must have had to be like, nah, you got to stay focused.
Yeah.
Like, I need to
Yeah.
bring it home, because I'm right here. I'm
Yeah.
right there. It's right there.
Well, knowing that like George is right behind you and Lewis
Chasing
Hamilton.
you like from the back.
Yeah.
He's like coming, and because of that lockup, I think he lost the time initially to George Russell was about 9 seconds, and because of that lockup, it had dropped to 7 plus almost 6 due to that lockup. So that is an added stress. Like, he's not so far back now.
Yeah, no, very impressive drive for Kimi Antonelli, being the second youngest driver, winning behind Max Verstappen. So he definitely put up a really good fight.
Very good fight.
I mean, he does remind me of a young Ayrton Senna. I have mentioned that before.
Yeah, like a baby Senna. But
really
it was
is.
very nice to see his after race interviews, like how emotional he got, and then being able, for me, what I really, really enjoyed for this weekend's podium.
What do I feel like crying? I don't know.
I
why.
know. Other than Kimi Antonelli winning his first race win, I have to say Lewis Hamilton getting his podium with Ferrari.
Yep.
Like, I mean, coming into this weekend, I had hopes that he would have won.
Yeah.
But to just see him on that podium after the dreadful year he had last year.
Yep.
And another thing that was, I was even telling Sangeeta this as we were like watching and taking videos and everything after the race, right?
Yeah.
To see Kimi Antonelli, George Russell, Lewis Hamilton, and also Bono on the podium was a beautiful moment. It was so heartwarming to see.
It really was.
That Bono was able, like Bono said after the race, it was so nice. Like he really had, it was so joyful for him to not only be on the podium for Kimi's first win, but also for Lewis's first podium with Ferrari. And it's just like such a sweet moment. I was like, it was such an emotional moment. It was just so beautiful to see.
It really was. I think like that whole shot of Kimi and then Russell and as well as Hamilton just being in the same frame.
Yeah, with Bono there.
With Bono as well. I mean, yes, Lewis Hamilton will always be the Mercedes driver, and he was there to, like, you know, sort of mentor George when George first joined as well, and then now George is doing that to Antonelli.
It was a very
this is
very
why
sweet.
we watch Formula One.
Yeah, that today's podium was honestly such a beautiful podium. I really, really loved it. I feel like it was so well deserved. Kimi drove a fantastic race. Lewis himself with his battles, with Leclerc, with George, he drove beautifully. George Russell himself, like, all of them were flying. They were like rocket ships.
They really were. This China GP sets the pace for both Mercedes and Ferrari. I mean, Mercedes is leading at 87 points.
No, 90 something, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it's around 80 to 90.
80 to 90, and Ferrari is just behind at 67.
67.
Around the 60 to 70 range.
Yes. So I feel like if the next upcoming races we do get like a double podium for Ferrari, we could see
a fight.
A very close fight
for the constructors this year.
Yes, and we do have George Russell leading the championship around at the 90s as well. His pointers. Yeah, so I cannot wait to see what's in store for the Japan GP. Who knows, you know, what if Antonelli does win another round?
Exactly. It would be very nice to see Antonelli win again, because that would just, it'd be amazing.
I think a back-to-back win for him would be
it's not impossible. It's really not.
It's not impossible. Nothing impossible for Lewis Hamilton either.
Yeah.
You know, I bet a lot of Ferrari fans are rooting the very best for Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton. So
I just want the Ferraris to really keep up with the Mercedes, to like press on them and be like, we're here too, you know? Like that would be such a nice fight. And also, like I said before, and like Sangeeta has also said before, we would love to also see the other teams as well. As enjoyable the race was to see the Mercedes and Ferraris fighting it out today, it was very unfortunate for the McLarens that they didn't even start. Yeah. And when they had really good pace this weekend. So I would love to see in the next race the McLarens come back and fight for it.
Yes. I feel like they just need maybe third time's the charm, you know?
Yeah, third time's the charm.
Maybe third time's the charm for both McLarens to make a return onto the track, especially for the Japanese GP. We would love to see that, followed by Red Bull as well. Oh yes, I did forget to mention some notable performances. Sainz was up there on the top 10. We finally got a Williams. I mean, you did mention in our last episode that you were hoping to see Carlos kind of like...
So I'm very glad to see Carlos Sainz up there at P9. And also, we got both the Alpines in points.
I'm so glad.
So glad.
Because I was telling Anjali, you know, like the way they were driving for this race, it's like Flavio's at the back of their head, like, get me points,
Get me
boys.
points.
Get me points.
You better get me points this time. So I think that's the momentum they came in for this weekend. We were like, he's in our ear, we need to fly and get these points.
Yes, so that was really impressive. I feel like the top 10 for this race as well really set a beautiful pace, and we're hoping that for the Japanese GP, we do see a comeback for Red Bull as well as McLaren starting off pretty strong.
And another thing also, that this is just me personally. I just want to mention this. This was just me sad.
Yeah.
I was very sad that we didn't see Arvid in top 10 this week.
Yeah.
I mean, he is the rookie this year.
The rookie of the season.
So I was like hoping he would get back in points, because he did get points last week in Australia. He got P8.
Yeah.
However, I think we got Liam Lawson.
Yes, we have Liam Lawson
up in there. So
in top 10.
I was talking about how I was disappointed in Liam Lawson last week.
Okay,
And then
so who are you disappointed with this week? Because we never know what she might say might happen for the Japanese GP. Because think about it.
That's true. And honestly, guys,
Okay.
I was like, when I saw the grid, like the winning grid this week, and I saw the top 10, and I was like, I spoke about how I was upset with Liam Lawson not keeping up with Arvid, and then now he is up there, and Arvid finished, I think, P13, P14, I can't remember in that. And then we see Liam Lawson up there in points, so I'm just like,
you had a That's So Raven moment, by
maybe
the way.
I should not make all these. Maybe I should not make all these comments, because I don't know what the heck could happen in the Japanese Grand Prix.
Yeah.
But honestly, I was very happy to see Liam Lawson up there.
Yep.
And then we have again the Alpines up there as well. And then we got Carlos Sainz up there as well. So I feel like it was a very diverse P10. It was a very diverse top 10.
Yes.
Let's not talk about the Ferraris and Mercedes at the moment, because they are like fighting it out up there.
Yes.
But from P5 onwards, it was very diverse. We got a couple of other teams as well. We even got Ollie Behrman, who finished P5 for Haas.
Yeah.
So I feel like they're really fighting their way up there.
Yeah.
So
somehow scoring points for their team.
Yes, exactly.
So I am really, really excited to see what's going to take place during the Japan GP.
Yeah.
Any predictions? Do you want to say, or shall we withhold it?
Shall we withhold it? I think we shall withhold that, and you'll have to stay tuned to us, and maybe you might get a predictions video.
Yes, we do want to do that, because I think this weekend we were too excited, so we didn't have time to like shoot that. But it's okay. Now we had a pretty eventful Chinese GP, and if you've made it all the way to the end of this episode, we really want to thank you. Be sure to subscribe, like, and
comment, and share, and
hit that notification
yes, hit
bell,
that.
girl.
If you haven't done it already, do it right now.
Yes, but we do appreciate those of you who watched our previous episode. We really appreciate you taking the time. If you have any comments you want to leave behind, do drop them down below. Any questions, in fact, if you're new to Formula One, let us know, or content you would like to see us do let us know. Because we would like to expand more segments for
and we would love to hear your feedback and your questions.
This is Sangeeta.
This is Anjali.
And we're signing out. We will see you on the next episode, episode 3 for the Japanese Grand Prix.
Bye.